South Carolina? Is it even Mike Pence? If somebody looks acceptable, I think a lot of people gravitate to that alternative because the thought of running Trump a third time really is abhorrent to so many Republican primary voters.
Right, but I'm getting this reaction from Jim Jordan, the infamous Jim Jordan. Ray Locker, I'll just give you the final word. I'll read out his tweet. He said, "One standard of justice for the Biden family, another for the Trump family. Everyone sees it." I'll give you the final word.
They don't see it because if there was any evidence, they would see it against the Biden family. There isn't. They had this committee checking into it. They had nothing. All they have is innuendo and talk. And if they had the evidence, they would have shown it, and everybody would have gone along with it if it was credible evidence. But it's not. So he can say all he wants, but he hasn't delivered.
Right. Thank you, Ray Locker and Sanjay Suri, for joining us on this great discussion when it comes to the dynamics in the Republican Party after the stunning arrest of Donald J. Trump. The former president of the United States has been arrested by the U.S. Marshals. He is in custody now as this long legal battle now kicks off when it comes to the classified documents case. What does this say about the Republican Party? Because as you can see in those visuals on your screen, many Trump supporters continue to rally around him. Voices are emerging from within the Republican Party to cut out Trump from the grand old party of the United States. But at the same time, the MAGA base is only circling around Donald Trump to protect him, to protect his political image. Will this arrest raise his political clout, raise his political stock as we head into the election season for the presidential elections, or will this be the end game for Donald Trump? Ray Locker, who's joining us on the broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Locker. A former US president has now been arrested over this entire classified documents case. Your first reaction to that? This is quite a watershed moment in American politics and in American history. At the same time, even a watershed moment for the Republican Party with the presidential elections right around the corner.
Well, my first reaction is it's about time. I mean, he took documents that weren't his to take. He kept them in an unsecured location. He showed them to other people. He lied about having them. He moved them around so people wouldn't find them. He lied again about having them. And now he's got no defense. So it's about time this happened, because if it was anybody else, it would have happened a long time ago.
Right. So you're saying that it's about time that this happened. Of course, there were a lot of charges against Donald Trump. Suddenly, this has stuck when it comes to, nailing him, when it comes to all the legal woes that he is facing. But I want to, look at the visuals that are taking place right outside the Miami courthouse. You have scores of Donald Trump supporters rallying around him. He has called this entire thing a witch hunt. When it comes to the finer points of a legal case against Donald Trump, Mr. Ray Locker, it never really matters, does it? It never really matters what are the charges against him, what is the conviction against him. He is still Teflon Don within the Republican Party, who has this cult-like status within one of the two big parties of US politics. And right ahead of the US presidential elections, you even see his opponents within the Republican Party are not willing to call him out because they fear his supporters.
Sure. Well, that's their own cowardice, and that's their problem. I mean, Chris Christie, the former New Jersey governor, has finally seen the light. I mean, after multiple times when Trump disappointed him, Trump even gave him COVID and Christie supported him. So he's finally come around. I think other people are ready to do that too. If they were really afraid of him, they wouldn't be running for president. I mean, Mike Pence, his own vice president, running for president now. They're all making these tepid attempts to try to differentiate themselves from him. It's going to happen more and more and more as time goes on. Trump leads now. We've seen leads evaporate. There's a lot of polling. I don't really take much of it seriously. I think he does have a hold on about 35% of the primary electorate. And if there's a multi-candidate field like the one we have now for a long time, that'll be enough to get him the nomination. But it's still early. It's only mid-June. And things don't really happen until February. So a lot can happen between now and then. And I think the cumulative effect of all of his legal problems, plus the stress that everybody felt during the 4 years of his presidency, and it's going to catch up to him.
Right. But, I've heard this before as well that, this is like a turning point when it comes to Donald Trump's political career, that, the Republican Party could rally numbers against him. But you see the commitment by which not just the MAGA Republicans within Congress, but also on the street, how they rally around him. The crowds, the cheering, the posters, the placards, it tends to spook other Republicans into compliance. And Ray Locker, I want to bring this point up as well. You talk about Chris Christie. It's rehabilitation with Donald Trump is never off the table. Oftentimes you see a Republican will be criticizing him one day, next day he'll be supporting him. We see it with Lindsey Graham as well. We see it with so many other Republicans that, when it comes to politics, they call him this, they call him different names. But when he wins, when he rallies the supporters, that's when they change their tune. That malaise in the Republican Party doesn't seem to be over anytime soon.
No, that's to their everlasting shame, too. I mean, Lindsey Graham said, if we nominate Trump, we'll be wrecked and we'll deserve it. And the next thing you know, they're out playing golf together. Lindsey Graham is a total weather vane. You never know which way the wind's blowing with that guy. Others, I don't think Christie's coming back, but stranger things have happened. And it's just amazing the hold that this guy has on party members, mostly because of his devoted following, which I think is not quite as rabid as it may seem. I mean, after all, this is Florida. There's tons of weirdos down there. You can get, a few hundred people to show up outside a courtroom for Trump. Now, maybe not every day. So I just don't know how long this lasts. I think this indictment is damning. If you read the facts in the case, it's all pretty clear. He could win in a trial, no doubt about it, because trials have a way of going in weird directions, particularly with this judge who seems like a total outlier. So, but I think long term, this is not a good thing for him. Is this the absolute turning point? I doubt it. But the cumulative effect of all of this, the New York indictment, this indictment, the one that's probably going to happen in Georgia, the one that may happen with January 6th, people who are, openly saying they're not going to support him or that he's not telling the truth, like William Barr, as former Attorney General, that's adding up. And I think the reckoning will come. I just don't know what day that will be.
Right. But we are in a situation, Mr. Locker, that the facts don't really matter in US politics. I still remember the Russia collusion hearings, nothing happened. I still remember when it comes to that phone call he had with Zelensky, you even had, the whistleblower testify in front of Congress, nothing happened. He lost the elections. The Republicans didn't even agree to certify the elections. They all rallied around him. And so, the facts really don't matter. It's all about the political power that this man enjoys. And regardless of the legal troubles he faces, he still enjoys a lot of political power because he has a cult-like status in the Republican Party. And Sanjay, this point we bring up time and time again. This cult is, is so tough within the Republican Party. Even the moderate Republicans, the smart Republicans, the McCain-level Republicans like a Mitt Romney and Adam Kissinger, even, Liz Cheney, even though she was not a favorite of the Democrats, she still has taken a principled stand against Donald Trump. Yet their political position does not rise. Their political stock doesn't rise within the Republican Party when it comes to facing off against Donald Trump.
I don't believe we should assume that this is an unstoppable cult. We have seen him facing a huge setback in the midterm elections. We have seen Trump lose an election and as incumbent, which is quite unusual. So there is a great deal of support that he did not get in the elections. There is a great deal of support he did not get, therefore, even among Republican voters, not enough to have turned the tide to get him back into the White House. So there is a limit to the infallibility of this cult power that we sometimes do project on him. Without doubt, you are absolutely right. In the face of all facts, in the face of all logic, in the face of all reasonable expectations, Trump has prevailed time and time again. Whether this will therefore continue forever and continue particularly past this issue of national defense is far from certain. We could be seeing the end of that cult run.
Right. And Mr. Loco, I want to ask you, when it comes to a significant base of the Republican Party, which is the moderate Republicans, which are not the the MAGA supporters, the QAnon supporters who tend to rally around Donald Trump, even though they're the most vocal, I think they get the most media attention. At the same time, the moderate Republicans who are the McCain supporters, the Mitt Romney supporters, do you think that there is a fear within the Republican Party among the sensible Republicans that our voter blocks will shift to Joe Biden's Democrats if we continue to rally around Donald Trump?